The war for Ukraine is now being fought on a new and devastating front, not in the muddy trenches of the Donbas, but on the television screen, newspaper pages, and social media feeds of the world. The international and domestic media, once President Volodymyr Zelensky's most powerful weapon and the primary architect of his global heroic image, has turned on him with a ferocity that has caught the besieged government completely by surprise. The narrative of a unified, defiant nation led by a Churchillian figure has been systematically dismantled and replaced with a story of a collapsing state, a failed leadership, and a democratic dream turning into an authoritarian nightmare. This shift in the information war has proven more effective at isolating President Zelensky than any Russian military maneuver, leaving him cornered, delegitimized, and fighting a battle for perception that he is decisively losing. The first and most painful blows came from within Ukraine itself. For most of the war, the Ukrainian media had observed an unwritten truth. Major television channels, many owned by powerful oligarchs, set aside their pre-war rivalries and political allegiance to present a united front. They suppressed internal criticism and amplified the government's message of defiance and hope. This patriotic information shield was essential in maintaining national morale. But the fall of Pokrovsk, preceded by General Syrskyi's desperate plea and followed by the arrest of opposition figures, shattered this fragile consensus. The dam of self-censorship broke, and a torrent of criticism was unleashed. The transformation was stark and immediate. On Ukraine 24, a leading national news channel, a primetime political talk show that once featured government officials explaining their strategies, was suddenly a forum for open rebellion. The host, a well-known journalist who had spent a year lauding the president, now adopted a prosecutorial tone. His panel was no longer filled with lawyer experts, but with defecting lawmakers from Zelensky's own party, outraged military veterans, and political analysts who had been silent for months. In one dramatic segment, the host grilled a junior minister from the president's office. "The people on the Maiden are asking a simple question," the host said, pointing a pen at the camera as if addressing the nation. "How is it that our top general had to beg for shells on television? Why did the government not tell the people the truth for months? And why, when this truth came out, was the government's response not to fix the problem, but to arrest those who dared to criticize? Can you tell the mothers of the soldiers who died defending Pokrovsk without ammunition why the government was more focused on silencing its critics than supplying its army?" The minister's stammering, evasive answers was replayed endlessly on social media. Independent online media and investigative journalism platforms, which had been sounding the alarm for weeks on encrypted Telegram channels, now found their stories being picked up and amplified by the mainstream. A detailed report by a website called Ukrainian Truth meticulously documented the timeline of the ammunition crisis, using leaked documents to suggest that senior officials in the president's office had ignored repeated warning from the military command starting late last year. The story, which would have been dismissed as Russian propaganda just a month ago, was now the lead topic of discussion on every major outlet. The oligarchs who owned those media channels, sensing the seismic shift in the political winds, seemingly gave their journalists the green light to attack. They were positioning themselves for post-Zelensky reality, ensuring their media assets were on the right side of a popular uprising. This internal media revolt was devastating, but the turn of the international press was catastrophic. The same global media outlets that had built Zelensky into a global icon, that had compared him to David fighting Goliath and made his olive green fleece a symbol of freedom, now began to methodically deconstruct their own creation. The change in tone was universal. In Germany, the cover of Der Spiegel magazine featured a dramatic, shadowy photo of Zelensky with the headline, "The Fallen Angel." The accompanying article questions whether the West had placed its faith in a man who was now sacrificing his country's democratic future for his own political survival. In France, the newspaper Le Monde ran a long analysis titled Zelensky's Authoritarian Temptation, detailing the emergency decrees and the arrest of opponents as a grave betrayal of European values. In Britain, the Sunday Times published a scathing piece, The Road to Tyranny, which chronicled the government's failure from the battlefield to the street of Kyiv. American media, the most crucial pillar of support, underwent the most dramatic reversal. Major cable news network, which had once broadcast Zelensky's address to foreign parliament live and uninterrupted, now led their newscasts with visceral, on-the-ground reporting from the Maiden. One network's star anchor, who had conducted a fawning, globally televised interview with Zelensky in his bunker early in the war, was now standing amidst the barricades on Independence Square. Just a few weeks ago, this square was a symbol of a nation united in its fight for freedom, the anchor said gravely into the camera, with the smoke from protest fire billowing behind him. But tonight it is a symbol of a nation divided, a nation on the brink. The people here say they are fighting for the very same thing they have been fighting for all along, a free and democratic Ukraine. The tragic irony is that they now see their own government, the government of President Volodymyr Zelensky, as the greatest threat to that freedom. The report then cut to a powerful interview with the wife of one of the arrested opposition leaders. Her tearful plea for her husband released, creating a powerful emotional counterpoint to Zelensky's official pronouncement. This new media narrative created an almost impossible situation for the Trump administration. The White House was now in the position of being the primary international backer of a leader who was being widely condemned as an autocrat. At the Delhi State Department briefing, Secretary of State Marco Rubio found himself under siege. The questions from the press corps were relentless and sharp. Mr. Secretary, does the United States support the arrest of political opponents in Ukraine? One reporter asked, does President Trump believe it is acceptable for a partner nation to indefinitely postpone election? Another pressed, how can the president host a peace summit with a leader who appears to have lost the support of his own people and is using force to suppress dissent? Rubio, looking visibly stressed, was forced to repeat a carefully worded holding statement. We support the Ukrainian people and their democratic institution. We are in a process of intense diplomatic engagement with all parties to de-escalate the situation. The president's goal remains to achieve a peaceful end to the conflict, but his word sounds hollow against the dramatic image coming out of Kyiv. The media storm caused deep frustration and anger within the White House. President Donald Trump, who is famously obsessed with media coverage, saw the narrative shift as a direct personal attack designed to sabotage his signature foreign policy achievement. He took to his Truth Social platform to vent his fury. The fake news media is at it again, he posted. They are trying to destroy the Ukraine peace deal, which will save millions of lives and trillions of dollars. Plus, they build up Zelensky like he was the greatest thing ever. He did a good job. Now they are tearing him down because they see we are about to make a historic peace. They hate me more than they love our country. The swamps wants the forever wars to keep going so their friends can get rich. It's a disgrace. His post was an attempt to reframe the story, to make it about his battle with the media rather than Zelensky's failing, but it did little to change the dominant international perception. The crisis prompted deep reflection within other parts of the administration. Secretary of Health and Human Services Robert F. Kennedy Jr., a figure known for his public skepticism of mainstream narrative, was quoted by an anonymous sources in a news report about the administration's internal discussion. He reportedly drew a parallel, noting how quickly official stories, whether about public health or foreign heroes, can be constructed and then just as quickly fall apart under public scrutiny. His perspective added a unique philosophical note to the administration's pragmatic crisis management. Meanwhile, the pressure mounted on the intelligence community. Director of National Intelligence Tulsi Gabbard was tasked with the critical job of untangling the organic media shift from Russia's sophisticated disinformation campaign. Her daily brief to the president now include a detailed analysis of which critical stories were based on genuine reporting from the ground in Kyiv and which were being artificially amplified by Russian bot farms and troll accounts to sow maximum chaos. Russia, for its part, was conducting a masterclass in information warfare. It had achieved a state of strategic victory without needing to invent elaborated falsehood. Its most effective propaganda was simply to rebroadcast the West's own reporting. The television network RT ran segments titled The West Wakes Up, which consisted of a montage of clips from CNN, the BBC, and all the major networks, all showing the protests, the police crackdown, and the critical commentary. A spokesperson for the Russian Foreign Ministry held a press conference in Moscow where she smugly held up a copy of the New York Times. It seems we no longer need to inform you about the collapse of the criminal regime in Kyiv. He told the assembled Western journalists, "Your own newspaper are doing a fine job of it. This front page story details the corruption, the incompetence, and the authoritarianism that we have been speaking about for years. The question is not for us. The question is for your government. Why do you continue to support this failed state?" The media's turn against Zelensky has effectively destroyed his presidency on the international stage. He has been stripped of the moral authority that was once his greatest shield. His words no longer carry the same weight. His appeals for help are now viewed through a lens of skepticism and pity. His appeal for help are now viewed through a lens of skepticism and pity rather than admiration and urgency. He is no longer the leader of the free world. He is the embattled head of a failing state. This collapse of his global image has all but guaranteed the failure of the August summit. No leader, especially not President Trump, can strike a grand bargain for peace with a man whose political survival is measured in days. The narrative has been set in stone. The final chapter of Volodymyr Zelensky's political life is being written, and the world media is there to broadcast every painful word. The countdown has begun, and the very reporters who once lionized him are now describing the fall. Many of my listeners, like 70%, haven't subscribed to my YouTube channel, and so many of you don't even know that you haven't subscribed, and that is actually what makes the show going. It's almost like you're making a donation to the show. So that's why I ask again and again, because it enables us to grow and grow and grow. And we're going for the long haul here. And listen, if this is your first time listening to Silk Heinrich, you don't have to subscribe. You guys, your first one's on me. But if you have watched this show before, it's like you are a freeloader now. So all I would ask you is, if you have seen the show before and you like it, help me, help my team here. Hit that subscribe and like button now. And we will continue to build this show for you. That I swear. Thank you to all of you guys who have subscribed. It means a lot to me. Thank you so much. That's all for me for today. I will see you soon.